The real reason INFJs walk away quietly. Have you ever been deeply connected with an INFJ, only for them to vanish from your life without a word? If so, you're not alone. INFJs are known for their quiet exits, leaving others confused, hurt, or searching for answers. But here's the truth, INFJs don't walk away without a reason. There's always something beneath the surface, something they've felt for a long time, something they've tried to endure, until they simply couldn't anymore. In this deep dive, we'll uncover the real reasons INFJs walk away quietly, going beyond the surface explanations to explore their inner world, emotional struggles, and what finally pushes them to leave without looking back. Let's get started. 1. They've seen the true you, and it's not what they expected. INFJs have a rare ability to see beyond the masks people wear. They idealize deep connections, often assuming the best in people. But when they begin to see patterns of dishonesty, selfishness, or a lack of emotional depth, disillusionment sets in. Imagine an INFJ investing deeply in a friend who always seeks their guidance but never reciprocates emotional support. The INFJ may initially justify it, believing the person just needs time to grow. But once they realize it's a one-sided dynamic, they emotionally detach. The moment they accept that the relationship is imbalanced, they're already halfway out the door. If you value an INFJ in your life, show them your authentic self from the beginning. They respect sincerity over perfection. 2. Their emotional bank account has been overdrawn. INFJs pour their hearts into relationships, often neglecting their own needs. They listen, they heal, they give. But when their emotional bank account runs dry, when they've given more than they've received for too long, they walk away, not with anger, but exhaustion. Take the example of an INFJ constantly supporting a partner through career struggles, personal insecurities, and emotional breakdowns. Over time, the INFJ realizes that their own needs are never addressed. When they reach their limit, they won't argue or demand change, they'll simply withdraw. If you're in an INFJ's life, make sure the relationship is a two-way street. Check in on them, ask how they're feeling, and offer support without them having to ask. 3. They feel unheard or misunderstood. One of the deepest wounds an INFJ experiences is feeling unheard. They spend so much time understanding others that when they finally express themselves, they expect the same in return. When that doesn't happen repeatedly, they internalize the pain and eventually withdraw. Consider an INFJ trying to share their personal struggles, only to be met with surface-level advice or dismissed with a casual "you think too much." Over time, these moments accumulate, leading the INFJ to believe that the person isn't capable of truly seeing them. When an INFJ opens up, listen with depth. Ask follow-up questions, validate their emotions, and make them feel truly seen. 4. They sense hidden manipulation. INFJs are highly intuitive, picking up on emotional undercurrents that others miss. If they sense manipulation, whether through guilt-tripping, gaslighting, or passive aggression, they won't confront it directly. They'll just leave. Imagine an INFJ who notices a friend constantly making subtle jabs to lower their self-esteem. At first, they may question themselves, wondering if they're overreacting. But once the pattern becomes undeniable, they'll exit quietly, never looking back. If you have an INFJ in your life, respect their intuition. Don't play emotional games, they see through them. 5. They realize their values are being compromised. INFJs hold their values close to their hearts. When they find themselves in environments or relationships that force them to compromise their core beliefs, it creates an internal conflict that they can't ignore. Imagine an INFJ working in a company that prioritizes profit over ethics. They may try to convince themselves to stay, rationalizing that they can make a difference from within. But over time, the misalignment gnaws at their soul. When the dissonance becomes unbearable, they will leave without fanfare. If you care about an INFJ, ensure your shared values align. They cannot thrive in an environment where their integrity is constantly challenged. 6. They feel taken for granted. INFJs are natural givers. But when their kindness is expected rather than appreciated, they begin to feel used. Think of an INFJ who always goes out of their way to check in on a friend, offer emotional support, or remember the little things that matter. If that same energy is never reciprocated, they begin to feel invisible. Rather than demanding appreciation, they will quietly exit. Show gratitude for the INFJ in your life. A simple acknowledgement can go a long way in making them feel valued. 7. They've reached an emotional breaking point. INFJs can endure emotional turmoil for a long time. But when they finally reach their breaking point, it's often irreversible. Imagine an INFJ in a toxic relationship, constantly giving second chances. They analyze, empathize, and try to fix the situation. But when they finally snap, when they truly accept that nothing will change, they walk away with an eerie sense of finality. If an INFJ tells you they are struggling, take it seriously before they reach a point of no return. 8. They no longer feel emotionally safe. INFJs thrive in environments where they feel emotionally safe. When they sense emotional instability, constant criticism, or unpredictable outbursts, they begin to withdraw. For example, an INFJ who confides in a friend only to have their vulnerabilities weaponized later will immediately feel unsafe. They won't argue or demand an apology, they'll simply fade away, prioritizing their peace over confrontation. If you want an INFJ to stay, create an emotionally secure environment where they feel safe to express themselves without fear of judgment or retaliation. 9. They can't tolerate superficiality any longer. INFJs crave deep, meaningful interactions. Small talk and surface-level connections leave them feeling drained and disconnected. Imagine an INFJ stuck in a social circle that only discusses gossip, trends, and material success. At first, they may try to engage, but over time, they feel suffocated by the lack of depth. Eventually, they walk away to seek out more fulfilling connections. If you value an INFJ, engage them in meaningful conversations. Ask about their passions, dreams, and perspectives on life. 10. They sense their growth is being stifled. INFJs are deeply introspective individuals who crave personal and intellectual growth. They constantly evolve, seeking knowledge, wisdom, and experiences that push them toward becoming their best selves. However, when they find themselves in an environment, be it a relationship, workplace, or social circle, that no longer fosters their growth, they begin to feel suffocated. Imagine an INFJ in a long-term relationship where their dreams and ambitions are belittled. They might try to communicate their need for support, but if they're repeatedly met with indifference or discouragement, they'll start questioning whether staying is worth sacrificing their personal evolution. Over time, they will quietly detach, choosing their own expansion over stagnation. If you value an INFJ in your life, encourage their growth. Ask about their aspirations, support their pursuits, and never make them feel like they must shrink themselves to stay in your world. 11. They've been betrayed or let down repeatedly. INFJs are extremely loyal and will give people multiple chances, sometimes more than they should. They believe in the potential for growth in others and try to see beyond mistakes. However, once they experience repeated betrayals, dishonesty, or broken promises, their trust erodes, and they emotionally disconnect. Picture an INFJ who confides in a close friend, only to later discover that their secrets have been shared. At first, they may rationalize it as an oversight. But if this pattern continues, they will internalize the hurt and, instead of confrontation, quietly remove themselves from the equation. If an INFJ trusts you enough to be vulnerable, honor that trust. Be reliable, keep your word, and never take their loyalty for granted, because once it's broken, there's no going back. 12. They are drained by constant conflict. INFJs despise unnecessary conflict. They are natural peacemakers and deeply value harmony in their relationships. While they are not afraid to stand up for what they believe in, they prefer thoughtful resolution over endless disputes. When they find themselves in environments filled with drama, passive aggressiveness, or repetitive arguments, their energy gets depleted. Imagine an INFJ in a workplace where toxic office politics dominate every conversation. Despite their attempts to mediate or disengage, the negativity persists. Over time, they become mentally and emotionally exhausted, realizing that the battle is not worth fighting. Instead of arguing, they will quietly slip away, seeking a more peaceful space. If you're close to an INFJ, respect their need for harmony. Address conflicts calmly, seek resolution rather than escalation, and understand that constant negativity will push them away for good. 13. They feel their presence is no longer valued. INFJs invest deeply in the people they care about. They listen, they understand, they support. But if they begin to feel like their presence is taken for granted, that their insights, time, or emotional support are no longer appreciated, they start to fade away. Consider an INFJ who always remembers birthdays, offers thoughtful advice, and checks in on loved ones, yet never receives the same energy in return. At first, they might dismiss it as an oversight. But as the pattern continues, they'll withdraw, not in anger, but in quiet acceptance that they are no longer valued in the way they once were. Show gratitude for the INFJ in your life. Let them know they are appreciated through words and actions. A simple acknowledgement can mean the difference between them staying or walking away. 14. They've found their inner peace and no longer need to stay. One of the most profound reasons INFJs walk away is because they've finally found the inner peace they've been searching for. INFJs often stay in situations longer than they should, hoping to mend relationships, fix problems, or make things work. But when they reach a point where they no longer feel the need to struggle for acceptance or understanding, they walk away, not out of resentment, but out of a newfound sense of wholeness. Picture an INFJ who has spent years trying to gain the love and approval of someone emotionally unavailable. After much soul-searching, they finally realize that their worth is not dependent on external validation. With that realization, they no longer feel compelled to stay, and they leave with a quiet sense of closure. If an INFJ walks away from you, understand that it's not always personal. Sometimes, it's about their journey towards self-acceptance. Respect their decision, and if you truly care, make space for them to return if they choose to. INFJs don't walk away because they don't care. They walk away because they've cared too much for too long, often at their own expense. Their quiet exit isn't an act of cruelty, it's an act of self-preservation. If an INFJ has ever left your life, take a moment to reflect on the connection you had. Were they heard, valued, and respected? Did they feel emotionally safe? Understanding the reasons behind their departure isn't about blame, it's about growth. And if you're an INFJ who constantly finds yourself walking away quietly, remember this: your needs matter. Your voice deserves to be heard. And it's okay to leave when something no longer serves your well-being. If this resonated with you, share your experiences in the comments. Have you ever walked away quietly? What was the breaking point for you? Let's create a space where INFJs feel seen, understood, and validated. Stay safe, and see you in the next one.